So now we'll do part 2 of Daf Nun Gimel. Amar Mar, we learned in the Bryce of Eloi B'Kameya, Afal Pisho Mumcha. The animal is not allowed to go out with an amulet, even though it's been proven. V'anan Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, V'Eloi B'Kameya She'ena Mumcha, that a person cannot go out with a amulet which has not been proven. Ha Mumcha Shaper Dami, but a proven amulet is okay. Well, maybe here it's prohibited because the amulet was not proven. But the Mishnah says the animal can't go out with an amulet which is proven. The Gemara says, the animal can't go out with an amulet which was proven effective for a person, but was never proven for an animal. Mika mumchal adam will have a mumchal behemoth. Does such a thing exist that it was proven for a person but it doesn't work for an animal? And yes, adam islay mazla. Person has a malach b'shamayim who watches over him. So messiah lay. So an amulet with a malach will work. Behemoth less la mazla. Behemoth is a shlamazl. Is like messiah lay. An amulet is not going to work. So ihachi. But if that's true, then is that chaymer b'behemoth b'ba'adam. Why did the Brisa say this is a stringency of an animal over a person? A person can only use an amulet if it's proven good for him. The animal could also use an amulet, could go out with an amulet if it was proven good for her, for the amulet, for the animal. The animal can't go out with an amulet which is proven for a man but not for an animal. But each one can go out with an amulet that was proven for a person or an animal for an animal. So how is the person... how is the animal more chomer than a person? Mi savrit akameyakoi. Do you think that the stringency is referring to a amulet, a sandal koi, referring to a shoe? A man can go out with a shoe because usually it fits well, and I'm not afraid it'll come off and he'll carry it. But the horseshoes or animal shoes were not that good. Therefore, an animal shouldn't go out into the streets with it because there I feel it'll come off, and the owner might come to carry it. That's a stringency of an animal over a person. Now, we said before that anything that saves that animal from discomfort is not considered too much of an effort. So you can put a blanket on an animal. But let's say something which is considered not for tsar, something which is just to make the animal's life easier, like a feed basket when it could have eaten without it, that was a machlekes. But anyway, Tosh Shema, the Gemara now brings a proof, Sochin u'mefarkesin la'adam. You're allowed to apply oil, or you're allowed to scratch a scab for a person. There's allowed to do that. And you're not allowed to do it for an animal. My love, would you not say the ikamaka? We're speaking where there is a wound, mishum tsar. And even though there is a wound and the animal is suffering, you're not allowed to do that effort of tircha for the tsar of a behemoth. You said you're allowed to put on a blanket because it saves the animal from tsar, from discomfort. And here you're not allowed to be sachan and mefarchas, and even though the animal has tsar and discomfort. So the more answer is loy no. The gomar maka, the maka on the animal is healed. Mishum tanug, the oil and the scratching of the animal only gives it pleasure. So for pleasure, it's a tircha yiseir to do it, and it would be aser. Which would work well according to Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, that anything that's just for additional pleasure, then for you it's a tircha yiseir, it's an unnecessary effort, and don't do it. Toshema, we learned in a brisa, behemoth shachos adam, an animal that has, somehow you're telling that it has too much blood. So, you can't put it to stand in cold water so it'll cool off. But adam shachos adam, if a person has the same malady, you can put him in cold water so he should cool off. But the animal that has too much blood is mitztayer. So you see that it's a tircha yiseir, it's too much of a bother to take the animal and stand it in cold water. So you see that we prohibit making an extra effort even though the animal is in tsar. Our Ula says here it has nothing to do with effort. As far as effort is concerned, I'd allow you to do it if the animal has tsar. Putting it into cold water is therapeutic or medicinal. And I'm afraid if you allow therapeutic or medicinal activities, you might come to grind some medication for the animal. So why is a person allowed to stand in cold water? Why am I not afraid that if you do something therapeutic and medicinal for him, you might come to grind medications? Adam nera kamekar. Because a person, it just looks like he's cooling off. It's not evident that you're doing it for medicinal purposes. So the animal also, it might look like it's cooling off. Ein maker lebehema. Animals don't cool off by standing in cold water. So if you stand them in cold water, it's obvious you're doing it for medicinal purposes, and there's a fear of shchika samamonim. So the Gemara asks, because of the fear of shchika samamonim, you're not going to stand the animal in cold water, and you might take a loss of losing the animal. If the animal is sick, you're not allowed to put it in cold water because we're making a gezerah, you might come to grind medication. But Tanya, we learned in a brayso, if an animal is standing beyond its 2,000 amas, and now you're afraid, whoops, it's going to go get lost, you're allowed to call the animal to come back within the tchum. And we're not afraid that you might go out of the tchum to bring it. So you see that if you're concerned that you're going to lose the animal, you're allowed to call the animal in, and we're not afraid you'll go out of the tchum to bring it back. So here too, you should allow the animal, you should be allowed to put the animal in cold water, because if not, you're going to lose the animal, and not be concerned you might come to grind medication. Now let me explain. The Gemara's Havamina here is that you have a zone at tchum that goes, let's say, from 0 to 2,000 amas, and the behemoth has the exact same zone from 0 to 2,000 amas. And the behemoth went to 2010. So the halacha is you can stand at 1995 and go whistle and call the animal back, and I don't make a gzeira, then maybe you'll go outside of the 2,000 amas and pull it back. So you see, we don't make a gzeira in case the animal is going to get lost. So why, in the case of the animal that has too much dam, are you making a gzeira not to let the animal stand in cold water because you're afraid that you're going to grind some amonim? Ravina explains, now let me explain what that means. You had given your animal to a shepherd, and because the animal is being taken care of by the shepherd, the animal's tchum is like the shepherd's tchum, and let's say that tchum goes from 0 to 2,000. The owner, meanwhile, he has a different tchum. His tchum goes from 10 to 2010. So the animal, due to being taken care of by a shepherd, has a tchum that goes from 0.0 to 0.2000, and its owner, who happens to have a tchum from 10 to 2010. The animal went to 2005, so it's outside of its tchum. What the owner is allowed to do is to go to 1995 and call the animal back from 2005 back to 1995, and that's okay. Why? Because I'm not concerned that the owner might go out to 2005 and bring it back, because his tchum goes to 2010. So there's no decree. There's nothing to be afraid of. Even if he goes out there, he's not going to be going outside of his tchum. So therefore, we allow him to call the animal back in. But if there's a gzeira, you might come to grind the samamonim, to grind medications, it's usher to stand the animal in cold water. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says this idea that you can't put an animal into cold water because of a fear of grinding medication, shrika samamonim gufa tanoi. That's a machlokes tanoim. Because the Tanya, there's a brayso, behema shachla karshinim. If a behema ate too much animal food, it's called vetch karshinim, and now it's sick. Lo yiritzena b'chotza b'shvil shetisrapa. Don't make it run in the courtyard so that it is caused to relieve itself. Rabbi Yoshi Amater, Rabbi Yoshi allows it. So evidently, the Tanakama prohibits it, because if you're going to do this therapeutic effort, you might come to grind some medication, some kind of laxative to make it go. And Rabbi Yoshi is not concerned about shchikas samamonim when it comes to an animal. Dorish Rava made a drasha halacha k'Rav Yoshi. The halacha is like Rav Yoshi, that I'm not concerned about shchikas samamonim when it comes to an animal. Now, seemingly, if we're not concerned about shchikas samamonim when it comes to an animal, then according to this, you could stand the animal in cold water if it has a surplus of blood, and I'm not afraid of shchikas samamonim. But some Rishonim say that Rabbi Yoshi only allows you to run it around in the courtyard because that's not so evident that it's for therapeutic purposes. But to stand it in cold water, which is more evident that it's for medicinal or therapeutic purposes, that Rabbi Yoshi would agree it's usher. Amar Mar, lo yetze hazav bekis shaloi v'lo izim bekis shebedadayim. The zav shouldn't carry out a cup to catch a ziva, and the goats should not go out with a cup on their udders. V'atanya, we learned in the Brisa, yoitzos izem bekis shebedadayim, that the goat could go out with a cup on its udder. So Brisa A says no, and Brisa B says yes. Amar of Yudah like Kasha, Hod mihadik and Hod loy mihadik. Brisa A that says no is if it's not tight, so if it comes off, you might come to carry it. Brisa B that says yes is speaking where it's tight, so you won't come to carry it. Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yosef says to Rav Yehuda, Tanoi shaklat mi'alma, have you gotten rid of all the Tanoim in the world that you had to come up with your answers? Tanoi. The whole issue, the contradiction of Brisas, is really just a dispute between Tanoim. The Tanan, because the Mishnah says, Ho'itzim yoitzos, tzururais, that the goats can go out with their udders tied. So the Tanakama says, yes. Yes is like Brisa B. Rabbi Yossi Oyser Bekulam. Rabbi Yossi prohibits it, which means no, like Brisa A. Chutzman Arachelos HaKavunos. The Mishnah said that Rabbi Yossi allows the sheep to have that cloth that goes around that wool to keep the wool clean. Rabbi Yudah has a compromise in the Mishnah. Izim yoitzos tzruros liabesh. If their udders are tied to stop the milk from coming in, it's mutter. Avloi lechalev, but not where it's just to stop the milk from running out. So therefore, it's very simple. We had two brises that were contradiction. The first one said no, and the second one said yes. So the first one goes like Rabbi Yossi, who says it's aser, and the second one that says it's mutter goes like the Tanakama that says mutter. Iba is same, or another answer is Hava Rabbi Yehuda. They can be like Rabbi Yehuda, like Kasha kan leyabesh kan lecholev. The one that says that it's mutter is speaking where you tied it so that it dries up the udder, and Rabbi Yehuda said it's mutter. The one that says it's aser is to stop the milk from leaking. Tanya, we learned in a Brayis Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Masa be'izem beis antuchya. There's a story, the goats in beis antuchya, shoya dadeim gasim. They had very large udders that were dragging on the thorns. Asulam kisim kedei shelo yisartu dadeim. And they made like covers or pouches for it, that their udders should not get scratched from thorns. It's not clear what he means to add here, but if that's the issue, then it's considered a tachshit. Taner Rabbanan, the Rabbanan taught in a Brayisa, Masa be'echad shemeisa ishtoi, v'inicha ben leinek. There's a story with a man whose wife died, and there was a child to be nursed. V'lo hoya l'schar menika lita, and he had no money to pay a wet nurse. Nasa le'neis v'niftecha le'daden kishnei dade isha v'henikas benai. A miracle happened. God created like two breasts for him, and he was able to nurse his child. Amar Rav Yosef says, wow, this guy must really be a tzaddik that such a miracle happened for him. Amar lai Abayis says, Adarabba, au contraire. How awful is this guy that God changed nature for him? So there's two pshatim. One pshat is that if God made such an unusual change of nature, it's going to cost him from his schar and olam haba. God deducted from his olam haba to do something like this. I guess because God wants to pay him back in this world because he's not such a good guy. Another pshat is that it would have been easier to give him parnasa. But God didn't like him, says Abaye, so he didn't give him parnasa. Rather, he gave him breast because the baby deserves to live. But this guy didn't really deserve parnasa. Should have given him a job, and then he could have hired a wet nurse. Amar Rav Yudah says, Bayarei kamakoshem is an oisav shaladim. You see, it's tough to find parnasa. Shenishtanu alav sidra breishes. God found it easier to give a guy breasts than to go find the guy a job that he'll have money in order to nurse the child. Amar of Nachman Teder. Nachman explains what Rav Yudah says. The misrachash nisa v'liyav ramazayni. God made a miracle instead of giving him away to earn a living. Taner Rabbanan Masaba the Mechad Shenosi Isha Gidemis. A man once married a woman without an arm. Below Hikir Bad Yan Moisa, till the day she died, he wasn't aware of that. Amar Rav's opinion is Bayere Kamatsnu Ishazu Shalahikir Babala. This woman was very tsanua that she always was covered with a garment so that nobody ever saw that she was missing an arm. Amar Lerabchia Zudarka Bakach. Women usually can wear a shawl or some type of a garment that would cover her missing arm. How tsunua was he that he never in his lifetime looked so closely at his wife to see that she's missing an arm? No. The Mishnah says that rams can go out levuvin. Sekwasa, my levuvin, what's levuvin? Amaravuna tutri, two rams tied together that they shouldn't get away, shouldn't run away. My mashmat hai levuvin lishna de karuvayu. How do you know that levuvin means together? Because it says the Chsiv Shir Hashirim libaftini achoisi kala. My sister, my bride, you brought me close to you. So levuvin means the rams are tied close. Ula Amar Ula says shekaishin lahem keneged libam kadesha leiplo leim zeivin. It's an or shekaishin lahem keneged libam. It's a piece of leather that you tie on the ram's heart so that the wolves should be discouraged from attacking the ram. They can't get to the heart that's covered with leather. The Gemara is zeivim as chorem nafli and keves lay nafli, and the wolves will only attack the rams and not the ewes. Mishum demasku bereish edra. It's because the rams are in front of the herd, so you have to protect them better, the flock. Uzeivim bereish edra nafli b'seif edra lay nafli, and wolves only attack the front of the flock and not the back of the flock. Elam shum deshamni. The rams are fatter. Nekevas like a shamni. There are fatter ones amongst the ewes as well. And v'su miyadi bein hani lahani. Can the wolves really tell the difference between a fatter one and a less fatter one? Ella, interesting. Mishum dezakfi chaytmayu umasgu kidavu. Because the rams, they have their noses up in the air and they're constantly looking back and forth. So they look aggressive. If they look aggressive, the wolves take on the challenge and want to fight with the rams. But the ewes, they look meek and down, so the wolves leave them alone. So because the rams look aggressive and might attract a wolf's attack, they used to have leather things on the wolf's heart to protect them, and that's considered a malbish. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Or shekoisher lem tachas zachrusan kedei shalayalu ala nekevos. Levuvim is a third shot. Again, it's not tying the rams together. It's not a leather on its heart, but rather a piece of leather that's under their genitals so that they shouldn't mate for some reason. They don't want them to mate with the females right now, so they have this thing on their genitals. Mimai, how do I know that's what it is? Midiktani Seif, because in the Seif it says, the Harechelim Yoitzes Shchuzais. And the females, the ewes, go Shchuzais. My Shchuzais, what are Shchuzais? Sha'oichaz in ha'alya sha'an l'ma'ala. This is a piece of, tying the tail end of the female up, so that the males can mate with them. So therefore they probably have to do with a similar thing. The reisha is where the males are levuvin shalayalu al nekevos, which stops them from mating with the females. And the seifa, which talks about the females, has them shchuzais, where their tail is up, so that kadesh yalu aleim scharim, to make it easier for the males to mate with the females. My mashmadai shchuzais lishna degaluyahu. How do you know that shchuzais means exposure, to expose the ewes so that the males can mate with them? There's a pasuk in Mishlei Perik Zayin, being a isha likrasai, shis zayna nitzaras leiv. A woman coming towards him, exposed like a zayna and brazen of heart. So shis zayna has the same letters in it as shchuzais, and therefore shchuzais means exposed. Just one quick Dvar Torah. We said before that there was a shaylu whether you can put a blanket on a donkey, and the end was you're allowed to, because it's to save the donkey from cold, and that's discomfort and tsar, and therefore putting the blanket on is not called unnecessary effort. But Shmuel says that it has to be put on before Shabbos. We had three pshatim why. Rashi says because if you put it on before Shabbos, you make it much more evident that the donkey needs it. Taisa says if you put it on before Shabbos, you're showing that you're doing it for the donkey. But if you put it on Shabbos, it might look like you want the donkey to transport it. And the Rosh B'Shema Yerushalmi says that if you put it on Shabbos, the fear is as you're putting it on, you might come to lean on the donkey. So the Pri Megadim says there's two differences between Rashi and Taisvas versus the Rosh B'Shema Yerushalmi. What happens if a guy puts it on? So according to Rashi, it's still Aser, because it still looks like the donkey doesn't really need it, because you didn't have it on Friday. And even according to Taisvas, it's Aser, because it looks like you got the guy to put it on, because you need to transport it. But if it's because you shouldn't come to lean on the animal when you're putting it on, so if the guy puts it on, you're not going to be leaning on the animal. Another issue is, can you put it on and not take it out into the street? According to Rashi, the issue is because it's going to go out into the street, and maybe it doesn't really need it as a malbish. According to Taisvas, the issue is to take it out to the street because it looks like you use the donkey to transport the blanket. But according to the Rosh B'Shema Yerushalmi, the issue was because you might come to lean on it. So if there is you might come to lean on it, you're not allowed to put the blanket on the donkey even on Shabbos, even if it's going to be inside the courtyard. Hope everybody's well. Be matzliach, everybody. Stay healthy. And as they say, lehitraot, to see you again soon in person.